Hi, this is CK at CK Education. Today, I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about something that may seem completely random to the things that I've been talking about recently. But this is, my channel is Advice for Life, and I want to give advice on all kinds of different things. And I understand that when you do that on YouTube, on a YouTube channel, you're not going to get very many views, but I don't care. If if there are a few people who watch and enjoy these, and if these are helpful, then that's fine. But in the end, even if no one watches, it's about me putting my thoughts out there. And if nothing else, this is future reference. These are things that my kids can watch, and I got a few fans, maybe one or two. But look, today I want to talk about maintaining your car. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not even pretending to be one, but I've owned cars since I was, 16 years old. And so there are certain things that over the decades of driving and maintaining my cars, there are certain things that I always look for. And I'm always surprised that people just have no idea, like just what to look for in their cars. And so let me just go over a few things. You don't have to be a mechanic. These are just things that I think are very important for you to be aware of. So let me just tell you sort of from the ground up meaning from the tires up. Okay, so every time I go out and I'm about to drive, and before I get in my car, I just do a quick look around. I really do. Most people don't do this. They just get in their cars and drive off. But I always look around and I look at my tires to see if they seem a little bit deflated, to see if one seems more deflated than the other, than any of the others. And you want to check on tire pressure. Now, if you open your door of your car and right on the side there, on the sidewall, you'll see the recommended tire pressure PSI for your car. And so like on one of mine, it's 33 and so pounds per square inch PSI. And so, if it's like 28, then that means it's deflated. I need to put some air in there, right? And when you check the tire pressure, you want to make sure you check it when the car is cold. And when I say cold, I mean just if you've been driving for 5 miles in hot weather, the pressure is going to increase. And so that's not the time to check it. You want to check it right like before it's been driven. And so like in my example, I have a gas station very close to my house. Literally, like I could walk there in like 2 minutes. Okay, so it's right down the street. So that's a great place because they could great place to inflate my tires if I have to. And so if I think my tire pressure is a little bit low, I go down there and I get it filled up to that the appropriate level. Now sometimes in the winter, when the car's just been sitting cold, the tire pressure is usually a little bit lower because of cold weather. When it's in the summer, it's a little bit higher. But regardless, when the car's been just sitting, the recommended tire pressure, that's what you want it to be at. And most cars now, they have in the instrument gauge, they have the sensors on the tires to tell you what the pressure is. And so you should always check that if you have that. I think most cars have that. So when you check that, you should check in. If it's below what the recommend. Now, if it's like 1 pound below, it's no big deal. 1 to 2 pounds below is no big deal. It can fluctuate, but if it's like 3, 4, 5 pounds below, then you should get it inflated. Okay, so that because that goes into tire wear and things like that. So you want to make sure that your tires are inflated, and you want to make sure that that is something that you check for. Okay, the other thing is tire tread wear. And that is that your tires you want to keep track of when you put new tires on, and they say, for example, when you put new tires, you should always ask, what is like the expected life of this tire? They might say, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, depending on what kind and what quality and the price of the tires. The better tires, they might last you 60,000. The ones that are not as good, and you're like, man, I didn't have money, so I just went with the cheap ones or whatever, and they may only last 30,000. And some tires, like some of the high performance or sort of the thinner ones, they don't last very long at all. So you just got to check on that every time you get an oil change. You should check. If you don't know, whoever's doing it, you should ask them, do my tires look okay? Are the treads okay? Are they deep enough? And you want to check for that. If it seems like one of your tires are balding a little bit, they're not, the treads are, the grooves are not very deep. And typically people say if you put a penny upside down, it should be like Abraham. You should be able to see Abraham Lincoln's head. But yeah, I just put my hand. I just feel it. But I know my tires. I know when I change them, and I know about when they should be due. So you got to keep track of these things. So with tread wear, I would just say, look, I just replaced on my van. I just got 4 new tires recently, and they said, I put good ones on there. They said that should go, good 60,000. I'm not counting on 60. So I say maybe 50 or so. But whenever I go and get an oil change, which is another thing I'll bring up, whenever I go on an oil change, I have them take a look at it, and I get the expert's opinion on if they think I need new tires or not. Okay, so that's always something you should be aware of as well. Another thing is brakes. Okay, every time you get an oil change, you should ask them, hey, can you check my brakes real quick and make sure they're okay? And it's hard for most normal people to know if they have adequate brake pad life left on their cars. So I always ask that, hey, can you check my front and rear brakes and make sure that they're okay? Oh yeah, you'd be good for another, whatever they'll say. You'd be good for another 20,000, man. They're barely worn, or they're really worn, and you should get them replaced pretty soon. And in that case, I might just get them replaced at the shop that day. Okay, but because you can't have brake pads that are completely worn out, that's very dangerous. And so brake pads, another thing, front and rear pads, you got to make sure that you ask the pros whenever you go in. And I keep saying oil change because that's just like a regular thing you do on your vehicle. And so every time you go in, you should get these important things checked. Now, a lot of these places, when you go in, they're going to inflate your tires. They're going to check the tire pressure. They're going to, put in the fluids in your car that you need, not just the oil change, but they'll fill up the coolant and other things like that. Windshield wiper fluid, that's not critical, but things like that. So they take care of it, but you always want to ask them, do my tires look okay? Do my brake pads look okay? Okay, so your tire pressure, the tread, is it wearing thin? My tires and my brake pads, front and back, do they look okay? The fourth thing is oil change. Now for me, you can get just non-synthetic oil. That's just a regular oil. And if it's like that, I really do recommend getting it every 3,000. I mean, I know, you heard like from all these people from Jiffy Lube, and you should change it every 3,000 miles. I've always kept to that. And people say, yeah, but they're just marked. They just want to make money, so they want you to do it more frequently than you need. I understand that. But there's nothing wrong with getting new oil every 3,000. This is the life of your engine. I mean, if you don't change your oil, your engine's going to go bad very quickly in a bad way. And so you got to change your oil. If you're just putting regular oil in there, just the recommended, I recommend, that's what I've always done. I've done every 3,000 miles. I'm getting an oil change. Now, what I do in my vehicles, I put in synthetic oil. Now, these last longer, and recommended is like, 7,500, every 7,500, but I still get it changed every 5,000. Why? Because that's just an easy number for me to track. So on my odometer, when I'm looking at it, when it says, I just go every 5,000, literally. So if it says 95,000, I'm due. So after 95,000, 100,000, 100,000 miles, I go in. 105,000, I go in. If you have lower mileage, if you have 25,000, it's time to go in. 30,000, time to go in. And I'm saying, if you're putting synthetic oil, it lasts longer, and that's just what I do. And so, and every 5,000 I go in. So every 5,000, I'm asking them about when I go in, hey, can you check of course, they check the tire pressures. Can you check my tires, the tread? Can you check my brakes? And I have them check these things every time I go in. So oil change, every 3,000 if you're going regular oil, every 5,000 if you're putting synthetic like I do. And you just got to be religious about that. And you can't forget it every, time you do that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is battery, because this thing sucks. This has happened to me in my over 30 years of driving. I think like twice, and it really sucks. If you're sitting, especially in winter, if you're sitting there, you're trying to start your car, and you're, oh man, my car doesn't start. Why? My battery's dead. My battery went out. Okay. Now, this can happen for a couple of reasons. Maybe just because you've had your battery for a long time and it just went out. Another reason could be maybe you're used to like some parents sometimes they in their vehicles they turn the engine off but they keep the radio on, for example, because their kids sleeping in the car. I've done that plenty of times too, but and sometimes they just keep the radio on for a long time, like an hour or 2 hours. It's draining on the battery. And so the thing about battery is sometimes you don't know until it's too late, like the battery's dead, and then I got to get jumper cables and someone has to jump my car in order for me to get, go get new batteries or whatever, or for them to juice up again. But here's the thing. I think that every about 50,000, if you got a new car, if you got brand new batteries, you got pretty good batteries, every 40 to 50,000, again, you want to keep track of this, every 40 to 50,000 miles, I would have them check the battery and I would just replace and get new batteries. It is not worth me stranded somewhere and I can't start my car because the battery's out. So what I've done is I just keep track of when did I replace my batteries, and about 50,000 miles, I just get the best battery that they have. And then about 50,000, I just put in a new battery, all right? If it's not the best battery, maybe every 40,000, I'm putting it. Now, some of you might say, dude, are you kidding? 40, 50,000? They last much longer. Maybe, but I ain't waiting until I get the last little juice out of it. That's not the way I maintain my cars, okay? I don't wait until the treads on my wheels get completely bald and I'm sliding across the rain. No, I don't want to get it replaced then when it's really dangerous. I want to get it replaced well before then, okay? So again, it's not about saving every penny. It's about driving safely, okay? So batteries, I say every 40, 50,000, just get a new one. And so these are some of the most basic things that just every driver has to do, and you should check every day. And of course, there are other things, but honestly, other things they're a little bit too complicated. I'm not a mechanic. When I get other issues, when I go in the shop and they say, okay, you got 100,000 and you should get this, or you should get that. It depends on what it is. I might Google it and see if I really need it. And then there are other things that you'll need to get. You have to get new spark plugs. Okay, that's like later. Okay, that's like some of the newer vehicles that maybe that's like 120,000 miles. You need to get something like that, or maybe something like so. Those are later on, and I'm not a pro. I'm not trying to do that myself. I have it done, and I have the mechanics take care of it. But these things that I mentioned, these are all things that you should be asking about, you should be aware of, and you should be replacing on a regular schedule to keep your car in good shape and to keep yourself safe. And that's the most important thing. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.